All right. We are going to talk about the new chapter. This chapter is entitled Moment of Forces. But prior to that, previously, the previous chapter was focusing on forces. And here we had to define the forces. First of all, what does it mean when it comes to deal with forces? What is a force? And the definition of a force when we were talking about this chapter was limited to say it's just an action of pulling and pushing exerted on a body. That body can be either a rigid body, it can be a deformable body, it can be a fluid. That's what we've defined. That's how we've defined a force in the previous chapter. But it was also about to explain why are we learning forces, why forces, applied mechanics, in engineering mechanics. Because forces have the capacity, or forces can cause deformation, and forces can also stabilize. And we're learning force to be able to know their effect, because these are the effects. We're learning forces because they have effect of causing deformation. That deformation can be a permanent deformation. That deformation can be a temporary deformation. And if we go beyond the deformation, we can also reach the failure. Forces can also cause failure. They can cause deformation, they can cause failure, and they can also stabilize. That's the reason why we're learning forces, so that we know how to use them in order to avoid the worst case scenario, which is either the failure or a permanent deformation. What was important in this chapter was also to define the concept of equilibrium, and that was the core aspect of this chapter. If equilibrium was defined as the state of balance, and it was related to stability. Whenever forces are applied on a rigid body, on a deformable body, or else on a fluid, to avoid deformation, to avoid failure, we need to focus on the stability aspect. And the stability aspect on which we need to focus more is the equilibrium. And therefore, equilibrium was defined as the state of balance when an object is under applied forces. From this concept, from the definition, we ended up by expressing mathematically the concept of equilibrium, which was defined by the two following equations. Means we can take the sum of forces applied on a rigid body, on a deformable body, on a fluid, projected on the x direction. That sum should be equal to 0, and either the sum of forces applied on the rigid object projected on the y direction should be equal to 0. And this made what we call the first condition of equilibrium. Knowing that equilibrium is the state of balance, and we need balance to avoid deformation, we need balance to avoid failure, and in that case, if we have to avoid failure and deformation, we need to be able to apply the condition of equilibrium. And the condition of equilibrium is got two equations, but the first equation which is first condition, is made up of these two equations. And this is a very important concept, the concept of static equilibrium. Now, whenever we talk about static equilibrium, the static equilibrium is expressed by these two equations. The sum of forces projected on x equal to 0, sum of forces projected on y equal to 0. Some of the concepts were also developed in this chapter. We had to define what is the resultant of a force. We know that the resultant of forces, if we have many forces applied on an object, these forces can be reduced in one force. That force represents the effect of all the single forces that are acting. Mathematically, a resultant of forces represents the vector sum of all the forces. And we've learned how to calculate the resultant either analytically, either by using graphical methods. Analytically, there is the rule of parallelogram, the cosine rule, and the sine rule. And graphically, there is a polygon rule that was used, or the head-to-tail method that was also used to get the resultant, which is that unique force that represents the effect of other forces acting on an object. It means when I deal with the resultant, that resultant tells me how all the forces are subjecting an object. It's that unique force representing all this, meaning it's the vector sum of all the forces. But the most important aspect of this chapter was the equilibrium, and also some definitions that we've learned. Concurrent forces. When we're talking about concurrent forces, it's when all the forces are having one origin, they're intersecting from one origin. Coplanar forces, it's when their lines of actions are laying on the same plane, same area. And we can also have a system which can be at the same time coplanar and concurrent. It means both conditions of concurrency and coplanar are put together. Same plane and intersection. They all intersecting or same origin. If we have the same plane and same origin, then we have a system which is coplanar concurrent. These were the aspects that were developed during the first chapter, or the previous chapter, obviously, which was focusing on forces. Now we're going to talk about something else, still in line with the forces, but this is another concept which is known as the moment of forces. Now, what are the key terms that need to be known in this concept? When we're talking about moment of forces, there are key terms that need to be known. And some of the key terms are very important because they will still going to be used over the next few chapters. Now, the first thing that we need to know, we need to define the moment itself. What is the moment of forces? That's a key term that needs to be defined. What is the moment arm? Another key term that needs to be defined. What is the pivot or fulcrum? Also another term to be defined. What is a couple? What is a torque? These are the terms that will come across more regularly. And what is the reaction? Now, moment of forces. What is the moment of forces? We're dealing with moment of forces generally. In the previous section, if I may come back again, in the previous section, We define forces as the action of pushing and pulling exerted on a body. But this definition was not that complete because forces don't only push or don't only pull, but forces can also induce a rotative action. Let me take this object that I have in my hand. If I apply a force here, you can see, or all of us can see, that this force that I'm applying here has a tendency of inducing, while it's pushing, it's true, there's a pushing action, but it also has a certain effect of making this object rotating. Now, the rotative effect that the force can induce on a rigid body, on a deformable body, even on molecules of fluid, that rotative effect, rotative action is known as moment of forces. Now, what is a moment arm? The moment arm is the distance from the point where the object is rotating to the point of action of the force, that perpendicular distance. Now, I have a body, and this body is attached somewhere, attached to a support. I call this a support. Now, if I'm applying a force here, this force F will definitely induce a moment because this object will have a tendency of rotating about this point as the body is resting on a support. Now, the moment arm is this perpendicular distance from the point of application of the force to the point of rotation. This point on which the object will have a tendency of rotating due to the force is called pivot or fulcrum. It's called pivot or fulcrum. This is the point when I'm applying a force. As you can see, this is my force. The object will be rotating about this point. That point on which the object is rotating is known as a pivot or a fulcrum. The moment arm, as I was saying it before, it's that perpendicular distance between the force and the pivot. And this distance is known as moment arm. The greater this moment arm, the greater the value of the moment, definitely. But that's mathematically speaking, yeah. Now, the pivot is the point of rotation where the body has a tendency of rotating when there's an applied force, pivot or fulcrum. Moment arm is that distance from the pivot to the point of application of the force. What is a couple? A couple is when we have two forces acting on an object, but these two forces are equal but opposed. I have an object here, and I have a force upward, F prime, and another force, F. F prime and F are equal but opposed. If these two forces are equal and opposed and acting on the body, this is all about creating a couple. We call it a couple, which is a moment, and that moment is created by two forces. We can call it a couple or a moment of couple. A couple is the forces, but the moment that coming, don't confuse. The moment that comes from the couple is known as a moment of couple, but the couple is the force which are equal but in opposite direction and subjecting the object to a rotative action. And a torque is still the moment of forces. When we use the word torque, it's still referring to the moment of forces, but the word torque is specific when we generally dealing with rotative organs of machines. Rotative organs of machines, such as pulleys, gears. When a force, you have a rope and you're pulling on that rope, and this is a pulley, definitely you're creating a moment, and this moment can be named as a torque, because it's a moment that is used or that is taking place when dealing with rotative organs of machines like a gear, like a pulley. If this was a pulley and I'm subjecting a force to this pulley here, I'm creating a moment because this force is having a tendency of making this pulley turning, but because it's an organ of machine, the appropriate term is used as a torque, but moment and torque are the same. And a reaction. What is a reaction? A reaction is just the opposite of an action. A reaction is what takes place when we subject an object to a certain force. When we subject an object to a force, because the object is resting on a support, there should be something that is supporting the object. That resistant force that is opposing the action due to the force is known as a reaction. Now, a reaction, it will be known as the opposition that is preventing the action of a force. And the reaction will always take place at the support. And the support is the place where the object, the rigid body or any body is attached. It's the point where the pivot is attached to the object. That unit that is linking the object and by the pivot, that unit is called a support, because that way the object is resting. And when you apply a load, that load is resistant. There's a resistance that the support is giving. That resistance is known as the reaction. And wherever there's a reaction taking place, that point where the reaction is taking place is known as a support. Now, these are the key terms that we will be facing them most of the time. We'll be using them most of the time. Now, then in terms of support, we have different types of support. We can have a fixed hinge support, which is called a fixed support as well. You can have a support that is sliding. It's known as a sliding hinge support. You can have a support in which the object is lodged into another part of another structure. It's called a cantilever support. And whatever it could be, it's just something that is sustaining the rigid body when it's under applied forces. Whatever sustains a rigid body, be it a beam, be it a slab, be it whatever it could be, whatever is sustaining that rigid body under applied forces, it's called support. And the force that is opposing, or the resistance, or whatever takes place when there's an action tending to cause either a failure, tending to cause a deformation, or to stabilize, whatever it's opposing that action is known as a reaction. Now, a reaction takes place at the support, and the support sustains the rigid body when it's under applied forces. We need to be able to understand that. Whatever sustains a rigid body, this is my rigid body. This is my force that I'm applying. And you can see when I'm applying this force, because my body is attached to this point, this will sustain. And there will be a resistance at this place. That resistance will oppose the action. As we know, for each action, there will always be a reaction. And the reaction will be at the point of support, because that way the resistance to the force takes place. After defining these terms, what is now the moment of forces mathematically? We've defined the moment of forces as the rotative action that a force that can induce on a rigid body. Now, mathematically, let's get back, still taking our example here, or we can get it here. We have a rigid body, and this is a support, and this is a force. When this force is applied, we will have a tendency of having this rigid body turning. We can have many forces. This can be F1, this can be F2. And we can also have another support here. It's fine, whatever it could be. But when we're looking at the actions of all these forces, if we look at toward the support A, as I've said, a support is where the rigid body is resting. A support is there to sustain the action of the force. Now, if you look at support A, you look at force F1, F3, you see that these three forces have tendency of rotating this body into this direction. And if I look at the support B and I forget support A, you see that the effect of these forces, the actions of these forces, have a tendency of creating a rotation of the body into the opposite direction. Now, moment of forces, in this case, the moment of forces, if we just simplify this situation by having just one force, let's take one force, and we have a support here. The moment of forces, or the moment of force, is mathematically will be defined as the product of the force that induces the rotation times the perpendicular distance from the force to the moment, to the point of, to the pivot. It means the moment of forces will be equal to the force times the moment arm. If you define the moment arm as the perpendicular distance from the point of application of the force to the pivot. When a force is acting on a rigid body, on a deformable body, even on fluid, because moment of forces can also be created on molecules of fluid. Now, whenever we have a force, we have a rigid body, sustains on a support, the force might be pushing, but the more the force is pushing, the more it's inducing a rotative action. That rotative action induced by the force on a rigid body resting on a support is known as a moment of the force. We need to be clear about that. We need to express it as moment of forces, because there is also what you call moment of inertia and other types of moments. Here, in this case, when a force induces a turning effect on a rigid body that is sustained by a support, that is a moment of forces, and mathematically, it's equal to the force times the perpendicular distance, which we know as a moment arm. The unit, the force is always in newtons or kilonewtons. The distance is always, or the moment arm, in meters. Therefore, the moment can be in kilonewtons meters or in newtons meters. That's what is a moment of force. And whenever we apply a force on a rigid body, we're creating a moment of forces, because that rigid body is resting on a support that sustains that object to avoid the object to fail, to avoid the object to drop, whatever case can be. But because there's an effect, a turning effect, that's turning effect induced by the force on the rigid body resting on a support, that is known as a moment. While the force is acting at the support point, there will always be an opposition. That opposition is known as a reaction. And whatever sustains that reaction is the support. And there are different types of support that we'll talk about. This fixed support, the sliding support, the free support, or the cantilever support, depending on the case that we're dealing with. Now, it means if I may have an object like this, which is subjected to forces. Maybe this is an object, and there's a force number 1 here, and this is the pivot. There's a force number 2 here, and there's another force maybe somewhere here, F3, and the pivot is here, A. I can calculate the moment that each force is creating about A. And how do I get the moment? I need to be able to have the perpendicular distance, which is the moment arm from each force to the pivot. I need to get this, and having this, I can take the moment created by the force number 1. It will be that force number 1 times the moment arm D1. And the moments always have a direction, the rotation, as you can see, and by conventionally, when the rotation about the pivot is in the clockwise direction, the moment will be considered as positive. When the induced rotation is in an anti-clockwise, the moment will be considered as negative, or vice versa. There's nothing wrong if you change it. But the convention has taken it like this, but you can also use it in another way. Therefore, the moment created by the force 2 will be the F2 times the moment arm from F2 to the pivot. And remember, the pivot is the point where the rotation has a tendency of taking place when there is an applied force. The same for the moment for the force at 3. It will be for the moment for the force 3 about the pivot A. It will be F3 times the moment arm from that force to the pivot. That's what we call moment. And there are plenty of examples that can be explored to calculate the moment. And whenever we have an inclined force, for example, I have a situation like this. This is a rigid object, and there's an inclined force, F1, and this inclined force is making an angle of 30 degrees, and this object is attached to a support, and this is the pivot. I will be requested to calculate the moment of this force. The first thing I have to do, I have to use the component, vertical and horizontal component, because the vertical and horizontal component will allow me to get the moment arm. Already the horizontal component is on the line of action. The horizontal component here will be F cos of 30, and the vertical will be F sine of 30. Because the horizontal component is on the same line than the pivot, there will never be any moment. If this is the force and this is the pivot, if I'm applying a force like this, there won't be a rotative action, because the pivot is on the same line with the line of action of the force. But the only component that will create the force is the vertical component. As you can see, it is at a perpendicular distance to the pivot. Therefore, here in this case, the moment will be that component times the moment arm perpendicular to the pivot. There are so many examples that can be explored, but the most important that we need to know is the definition of the moment itself. If we are requested to calculate the moment, you need to know that the moment of a force is defined as that force times the perpendicular distance. And the perpendicular distance toward what? The perpendicular distance toward the support. And at the support, that way there's a pivot. And that's the reason why we take the moment arm, because that way the rotation is induced. Now, anytime we have to calculate the moment of forces which are applied on rigid bodies, we need first of all to identify where is the support, where is the pivot, and then the distance from the applied force to the pivot constitutes what we call our moment arm. And if you take the acting force times the moment arm, you should be able to get the moment of that force to the moment arm. Now, we need also to understand that there's another concept that needs to be developed. when we're talking about moment, we can have many forces, like the case of the previous example that I was trying to give here. We can have many forces applied on the same object, and obviously the rigid body of the object is resting on support both sides. As I was saying before, if we take this example again, we see that these forces have a tendency of inducing moment. If we get back to our previous example, let us take this example again. This body with different forces. Now, we have two supports. As I was saying, if I look at support A and I look at my three forces, obviously everybody will agree with me that if this is the body, and this body is resting on two supports, and we have forces. This is force number one. Force number one, I might have another force number two here, and I might have a third one. I can have three forces all applied on the same object, and they are at different distances, and the object is resting on support. Now you will see that if I look at one support, this support with these three forces will have a tendency of implying a certain clockwise or anti-clockwise motion. If I look at the other support and I forget about this, the same forces will make my object having a tendency of making this object into the other direction. Therefore, what do we see? Whenever we have a rigid body under applied forces, these forces induce two moments that might be opposing. Moments that are opposed. Why? Because if I forget about this pivot, these forces have a tendency of creating this moment. And if I look at the other